you so much for having us. So, Rodrigo Liang, we're a startup out of Silicon Valley. Yeah, we are the best funded AI chip startup in the country. And we raised 1.1 billion in venture capital in the first 3 years of the company. The company's worth 5 billion. And we built everything from chips that compete with NVIDIA all the way to AI models that drive sovereign AI. And so really excited to be here to talk to you about kind of how we see the world as we go forward and kind of the opportunities that we have, not just in region, but across the world as far as why this is such a special moment for us. So it's obvious for most of us that AI is really important, but it is a historic moment. And it makes me think of kind of what were some of the times in our history as humanity that allowed us to come together and figure out how to drive innovation into our everyday lives. So if you think about kind of the race that was happening in the 60s with trying to go to space and all the innovations that not just came out of going to space, but bringing that technology into our everyday lives for decades to come. We're in a very, very similar time that the advances that we're having in driving AI into our everyday lives, driving into this rate to build sovereignty, is gonna have repercussions throughout everything that we're doing we haven't even thought about. Right? So there are a lot of similarities to kind of that period of time that you see companies racing to compete in that industry. These are industries that have not changed in decades. Some of the most industrial industry that have not changed, they completely committed to AI. Think about that. And so you got nations that are investing aggressively because it's an opportunity for you to actually leapfrog ahead. And so just such an interesting time, and coming from Silicon Valley where we're constantly pushing innovation, we see this every day. But to come across the world and look at this and see people investing aggressively in artificial intelligence in ways that we haven't seen with any other technology is just a very, very special moment. So as I said, I don't think this is about enterprises. I don't think it's about companies and countries only. It's about for all of us as a society. You're seeing us make investments that we're thinking about one application spilling into a different application. And we're in early days. Like we think about the fact that the last 5 years, what have we seen? We've seen the rise of ChatGPT. We've seen models that can actually generate 100, 1,000 page documents in 3 seconds. It can chat with you. It can actually create images. It can create movies. These things all have come in the last couple years. And yet we all know that we're just at the beginning, at the very, very early days of AI. And so what's gonna happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years as AI starts permeating into the infrastructure? And so one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about is sovereignty. Right? The most important thing that nations are thinking about, most important things that companies are thinking about is how do I maintain control of my destiny as AI becomes an important factor in my business or my nation? Do I want to hand over the control of my data to be trained into somebody else's model? They get to keep it, they get to maintain, they get to control it, and I lose control of my data, my model, my information. So in our world, sovereign AI means control, means ownership. So at SambaNova, we're thinking a lot about how do we actually help you? How do we bring the innovation that we actually can bring at the silicon level, at the software level, at the model level, but in the end, allow you to have control of the model. The model that's gonna power your business, the model that's gonna power your country, the model that's gonna power your sector. How do you give you control? And so what we've now been able to do is we've integrated the full stack from chip to software to models, where all you have to do now is instead of actually having to hire thousands of machine learning people, build up thousands of GPUs, you can bring in a rack, already pre-trained, already at the highest performance, already at the highest accuracy, and just fine-tune your private data into it. And the ownership of the model remains with you. And that's the key with sovereign AI. That's about ownership. And so we're thinking about, once you do that, now the opportunities are boundless. Right? You're no longer thinking about what I say is level 1 AI applications, the things that I don't worry about losing data over, the things that I'm okay going into a public site over. But think about the applications now. I want to understand every private legal contract that exists in my company, and I don't want to disclose that to the outside world. Now you can learn about that. Where are all the risks that exist in the contracts that I have? I want to get into healthcare. I want to talk about patient data without having to worry about that. I want to get into regulatory environments. I'm going to go into banks where you have to do a lot of reporting. I don't want to generate documents in the public, then have to explain to regulators why somebody's data was exposed out into the open domain. Because of sovereignty and control, you can now deploy models in secure and safe environments and do the things that are high value, not the low value things, the high value things that you expose your private data into, you train that data into a model, and now you actually generate content based on that high value data without having to dispose it. And then you can control where that model went. Right? So that's kind of what we're thinking about. You know, it makes me think about one of the things that enabled this has been the open source community. Right? That last few months, Meta has been an incredible agent in creating some of the best open source models out in the world. Meta put out a model, Llama 3.1. Today, the 405 billion parameter model is incredibly accurate. Right? It rivals OpenAI's GPT-4 in a lot of different things. The accuracy level is incredibly high. And because of SambaNova technology today, we partner with them, we're now able to run this model at 130 tokens per second faster than anything you see on GPT-4. Right? And so now you've taken the best open source model, a model that you can fine tune, you can own, you can control. You can open, you can examine, you can test and verify, and you can put it in a platform that's already been optimized for it and achieve the highest performance. Right? Once you open that up, what do we just do? Now we commoditize this. Now we made it accessible to everybody. If you need AI of the quality of GPT-4, of the quality of ChatGPT, of the quality of Llama 405B, we can roll in a rack and you're up and running in a day. Right? This is the level of transformation that we're actually able to achieve today. Right? Not next year. It's not a promise that today. We can roll in a rack, one rack, and you get a 405B model up and running, can read your private data into it, and you can start chatting to it in private. Right? So imagine the possibilities that now it's been available to us. You know, some of the things that I think about, like how do we arrive at this? One of the things that, so I came from, I've been in high tech, building high performance technology, chips and systems for over 30 years. I powered, all of the chips that Sun Microsystems built for 15 years came out of my group. And it was the dot and .com. The last big technology transition was the internet, and Sun powered every data center that actually had infrastructure behind it. Well, where did it go? Sun disappeared. And some of the things that I reflect back, you know, were lessons that stayed with me the whole time. Sun was the technology company for the internet and was so successful, but we missed some of the signs, and open source is one of them. So when I started this company, SambaNova, this company, we decided that we will not miss this trend. Open source is an incredibly powerful force where we're all innovating together. One of the largest companies in the world are, you know, helping contribute to it. And then guess what? With Meta contributing to it, now Google is putting Gemma out there as open source. Even OpenAI is putting open source models out there. You already have Mistral from France. The community is innovating on our behalf. The community is coming together and sharing and figuring out how do we actually move the ball forward to help us all create better and better technology and take advantage of it, right? And so that's something that we at SambaNova learned the hard way. Even a company as successful as Sun as it was, on a point in time where the internet was so important, it disappeared because we missed some of the waves. And this is what's happening with NVIDIA today as well, right? We are going head to head with NVIDIA on the chip side, right? What NVIDIA has done for us for the last several years on AI, incredible. It's created what was not possible before to something that all of us are talking about, touching, using every day. And yet I'm here to say that what was successful to us before using NVIDIA is not going to take us to the next phase of what we need for AI. Why? We're moving past the world of pre-training. The last 5 years has all been about training models. Companies like mine, SambaNova, we had hundreds of PhDs training models. Companies are out there pre-training models on your behalf. Some of them are open sourcing them, some of them are not. But these models are getting so good now that we're moving into phase of production. What is production? Production is now not training those models, but using those models as base models and then customizing them with your private data. And then you inference it at scale. Right, so here's something that will scare most people. Whatever cost you invested, whatever power you had to afford to it, whatever you spent in the last couple years on NVIDIA, on AI, is only 10% of what you're gonna spend at steady state. Because 90% of your AI cost will be in inferencing. It's called production. So think about all the issues we have over the last few years with power, with supply chain, with the cost of acquiring GPUs, with the cost of finding data centers to host the GPUs. How can you afford to actually do 10 times more as the world's moving from training to production? In the equation of ROI, training is I. You invested in it. You haven't got any return yet. Return comes from when you actually start inferencing. And that's when your 10x is going to come. And so we've been thinking a lot about that. And one of the things that we think it's really important for us to understand is there are better alternatives. There are better choices of doing this. And so where do we go from here? SambaNova will create a brand new chip from scratch. We're in generation 4 today. Allows us to actually go and take what ultimately is a world chip that was created for training and move it into production inference. Right? And so you can go to the SambaNova service that we just launched yesterday. SambaNova Cloud is a consumption-based model, free API tokens for developers. You can come and use it. The largest open source models are out there. 405B from Llama is out there. 70B is out there. You can use it and generate applications for free. For free. And why? Because we want to collapse the cost for developers so you can engage in this economy that's coming. Right? But what you're going to find is with SambaNova, we've now achieved 10x performance improvement at 1/10 the power. 10x performance at 1/10 the power. Now you can begin changing the trajectory. The cost that was going like this exponentially up on NVIDIA, the power that was going exponentially up on NVIDIA, the difficulty of actually securing chips and being able to deploy them at scale. All of those things, you're beginning to turn the curve. Why? Because instead of using 100 chips, SambaNova, we can use 10 chips. Instead of doing 10 tokens per second, we can do 100 tokens per second. Instead of taking 140 kilowatts per rack, we run it in 10 kilowatts. Right, and so you start thinking about what does it take for us to flip over this curve so that AI is a sustainable technology for us, right? So talk about the GPU limitations. I gotta go through it because I see the red light here. And so, but what got us here for AI with GPUs is not going to be taking us to the next phase of it. The limitations that we all now are experiencing with GPU, the answer for that is not more GPUs. We need something different. And frankly, everybody using GPUs, they want an alternative. You want assurance of supply. You don't want all your bet in one vendor. And if that vendor has whatever issue, you're dependent on it. You want choice. And so SambaNova, we're the most credible alternative to NVIDIA. We're able to actually give you this technology that runs anything you've trained on NVIDIA, seamlessly can move over to SambaNova. Anything you train on SambaNova, you can move back to NVIDIA. Right? And so you want that ability to actually make the technology agnostic, and yet the benefit of it is being able to actually run significantly faster, significantly low power, and a much, much bigger scale. And so, we talked about this, the power and consumption. So we need a different approach, and we're gonna actually, talk about SambaNova in terms of the next wave. And so I'll just say today, SambaNova will power the next wave of AI because it's about production. At production scale, you need power efficiency, you need to be able to actually run fast, you need to run efficiently. Those things are just not what NVIDIA chips are the best for. And so we're gonna go and actually attack that market. You see it today, we actually power Saudi Aramco. The entire Meta Brain inside Saudi Aramco, all air gap, 90 years of data, trained into a model, SambaNova powers it as a fine-tuned and inference model. Right, and we're going to continue to do that. We're here because we're excited about the commitment that the region's made in terms of AI, the long-term vision about AI as a application that's going to actually power us going into many, many years, and the scale by which we're thinking about the AI transformation is a perfect environment for technology like ours to be much, much better as an alternative than what you could get out of NVIDIA, okay? And so, it's anybody's to win. This economy, from a infrastructure supplier like SambaNova, we think that this next phase is anybody's to win. And we're here out competing. But actually, as terms of actually an application and an economy for all of us to build services and products on top of this infrastructure, it's anybody's to win. We're in the early days of deploying technologies, early days of being able to actually make these integrated into our everyday lives, and entire new companies and new sectors will be created because of this. So it's really, really exciting times. And so I want to go and finish up by saying, thank you so much for your attention. We're really, really excited to be in the area. We're here the next few days, but look, it's a point in time. Technology doesn't come and change all of us in this way. Right? I've seen 3 waves here since being in Silicon Valley, and this is one of the biggest ones, right? Probably bigger than the internet, right? And I think what's important is for us to get started. We don't know everything that's coming. We don't know all the risks. We don't know all the benefits, right? But if we work together and we get started, we'll learn a lot very, very quickly, right? That's how we've achieved all the things we've achieved so far. And that's how we're going to achieve the next 5 years of progress. Okay? All right. Thank you.